Technology moves faster than culture. This is the focus group.
They're all business, except when they're not. It's the focus group with Tim Bennett and John Nash.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the focus group. Tim Bennett here, as always, with my good friend and co-host, Mr. John T. Nash. John, I tried, but I don't have any blow-up balloons to put in my sweater. I was going to do the Kristi Noem husband. I mean, we failed to talk about that on Unbuttoned, but I'm loving every second of this whole thing with Kristi Noem's husband and the big titties and fetish.
So can you explain to me? I followed it as much as I thought this is just hilarious that someone as rapidly
holier than thou,
the culture warrior. You know, so he would put the big bazoombas in.
Yeah, blow up balloons in a stretch, a onesie, kind of this cream colored onesie.
Would he do this? Would he talk to women online? And
then he also did fake nipples in there, which I don't know if you've seen them. So they posted this in the Daily Mirror and a bunch of Daily Independent or something in some paper. But I thought it was a joke initially, and then I looked around. Oh. So he spent upwards of $27,000 or $25,000 to talk to these women. Back in the day, that had been 900 lines, right? Phone lines. And he put the fake nipples in the big boobies. He's got a fetish for big boob girls. And he would talk to them, and they would encourage him because the longer you keep them on, the more it racks up the dollars. And so he had this fetish, and I guess sort of cross-dressing. He would wear short pink panties too. I'm wondering if they're hers. These pink hot pants, and the huge, enormous boobs. They have to be extra big. And I guess what happened is there was a woman who.
But what were they talking about? So is this some fetish thing?
Yeah, it's a fetish thing. Do you like my large breasts? I'm sure it's something like that. Oh, I love your large breasts. Mine are bigger than yours. Oh, yeah. You know, back and forth. You string them along. And that racks up the bill.
But did it have anything to do with like getting him off? Is that?
Well, I'm sure it did. I'm sure he got off on it. Yeah, I don't know that it didn't go that far, but that's what they do. He had this fetish. So no different than I guess if he would be a cross-dresser and go out somewhere, but he was able to do it at home. I guess
While his wife was out cosplaying DHS.
I don't care what your kink is, and that was his kink or his fetish or whatever. And so I just find as you said, the funny part about this, it's the holier than thou, the Christian nationalists, all the craziness that she has promoted or part of with this administration is what I love about it, because it's usually those that protest the most that have the most secrets. So I don't care that he's got this kink or whatever. I just find it hilarious that it's coming from them. It's the same thing we talked about with Lindsey Graham. I don't care if Lindsey Graham's gay or not, but then don't play like it, but don't vote against things that are going to make people make gay and lesbian people have the same rights as anyone else. Don't want special rights. Don't want more rights. Just want the same rights as every other American who pays taxes. Right. We all pay taxes. Give me the same rights. But if Lindsey Graham is voting against that and happens to be gay, well, then, he deserves to be called out. And same situation here. Kristi Noem and her husband. Now, the husband probably not so much, but apparently this woman.
I love the way you sidebar that. Well, the husband not so much.
Well, because he didn't sign up for this, right? But the woman, I guess, who turned him in was an immigrant.
Yes.
I'll put in quotes, a legal immigrant or non-documented or something. So reap what you sow. Cosplay Barbie. Ice Barbie was going after with DHS and ICE Patrol, and guess what? Came to bite her right in the big boobies.
Yeah, and if she had known he was doing this, she could have put him in one of her TV ads. He could have been on a horse, like with the big tits, riding up next to Kristi.
They said they think Trump knew this was coming, and that's why he got rid of her.
Really?
Because he didn't want it. Yeah, they said that the Trumps might have known, or somebody in the administration might have known this was coming out because it was going to be released. It was released initially in England, but Then somebody said, "What was your vetting process?" Once again, we only the best people. But the fact is, there was no vetting process. She killed her dog and talked about it. The puppy didn't obey.
The poor cricket got shot in a quarry, whatever that.
There's a meme of her. Somebody did of her next to the husband with the enormous breasts, and it said, "If these puppies are any bigger, I'd have to shoot them."
So on the heels of Pam Bondi's departure, I read that, and this may come to pass. That Howard Lutnick is on the chopping block. The one I like to call him Howard Nutlick, the Secretary of Commerce, whatever he is.
Epstein's buddy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. He went to the island, but he forgot to mention it, blah, blah, blah. So in another vein, last week, the Artemis 2 launched for the moon. They're going around the moon, and it's a test of the rocket, the capsule, the cruise. And you're going to love this. My friend Ed sent me a meme that's going around, and this is right up your alley, Tim. One of your favorite science fiction movies in the world, right? So it says here, it shows a picture of Dr. Zaius and Cornelius, the husband and wife. And it says, now that Artemis 2 has launched, we have 10 days to get everyone on Earth a Planet of the Apes costume so we can do something hilarious when the astronauts return. They splash down. Everybody's looking like Planet of the Apes. Oh, you came back.
Here's what I don't understand about this. With that, maybe you can tell me. They said they're flying around the moon, right? And so they're going to see parts of the moon that were never observed before. Well, how could that be possible? I thought there was plenty of satellites and things going around the moon to see what's going on.
There are probes that have gone to the dark side of the moon. I think China actually has a rover over there or has landed something. That was, Tim, you bring up something that's kind of interesting to me because I caught that as well. And I thought we've seen
the moon
satellites and probes that we know, but it's going to be seen by human eyes wait a minute. The astronauts in Apollo went around the moon, right?
Well, I don't know.
Command capsule.
I just wondered about that. I thought, because it did make it sound like this is the first time that somebody's going to see this, or they're going to explore this side of the moon. But I didn't think the moon was that big.
And something, when I was watching the CNN coverage, I was pleased to see Miles O'Brien. He's a longtime science and space reporter. He's the guy that had that accident happen in Japan where a case hit him in the arm, went to bed that night. He had a compartment. I forget what it's called, but he woke up in a hospital the next day and they had amputated his left arm because he had some kind of, terrible thing. But he actually said something I thought was relevant too. He said, the Apollo astronauts were closer to the moon when the command module was orbiting. They could literally look out the window and see surface details. Artemis is going further out, and it's actually the furthest humans have been away from the planet, which is kind of cool. So I've been paying attention. I was very pleased to see it lift off. Of course, it lifted off the day that Trump got on a few hours later and gave that weird rambling speech about Iran and didn't really say anything that we haven't heard already, which is they have no plan, nothing is happening, or all this crap is happening because they have no plan. If this were corporate America, and let's just, in fact, for all his supporters, everybody talks about a businessman, he's this, he's that. He would have been run out of the corporation. He would have been escorted out by security for such calamitous decisions, right?
Just for his behavior toward women alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
He would not.
Yeah, he didn't get the harassment policy
survived.
memo about
Yeah, it's crazy. There was something else I was going to ask you about this Apollo thing
about the
Artemis. Moon. Yeah. Oh, is what's his name Musk involved? Is SpaceX involved, or any of these other? Or is this just NASA? This is
NASA. NASA developed technology, rocket, capsule. Of course, what SpaceX is doing is pretty amazing because the best thing about SpaceX is the vehicle that gets the cargo or the people to orbit does come back down and land and be reused, which is a big thing.
Yeah, that's
Artemis is disposable. It's a big rocket. I mean, to do what they did when we launched to the moon in the 60s, the Saturn V was the most powerful, biggest rocket on Earth. I think Artemis is right up there. So
they said I guess there's 4 astronauts in there. And yes. They said it's about the size of a cargo van.
Yeah.
That the room that they have in there. But I remember when you and I went to Dulles and saw this at the Air Space Museum and saw where
the Mercury capsule. Yeah.
I'd have been claustrophobic. I didn't want to go up in that pod in the arch. In St. Louis Arch, I didn't want to go in the pod. But imagine they were in about that much space for quite a while, right? It's
Yep, and you can't move. Yeah. And now in Artemis, they can actually get out of their chairs and move around the cabin or the capsule. They had a picture. One of the news things did a live feed with them when they were getting ready to do the burn to get them to the moon, and they were like floating around. I'm like, wait a minute. So behind the seats they sit in, there's netting and cargo and food, and they can actually move around a bit. But it's not like there's a shower.
I heard there's a problem with the bathroom.
Oh, really?
But I didn't hear exactly what. And all Colbert said it wasn't number one. So. So we'll have to see. Stay tuned. It's probably already happened by the time this airs, but I don't know what the issue is with the bathroom. So we'll see. So, Mr. Nash, without further ado, what caught your eye this week?
What caught your eye? Here's what Tim and John found.
This is specifically for Mr. Tim Bennett. What caught my eye? All right. So, Tim, your favorite movie would be?
Oh, there's a bunch of them. Well, I shouldn't say there's a bunch. Fried Green Tomatoes, Hidden Figures is a new one. Ferris Bueller's Day Off.
Ding, 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 ding. Okay, Ferris Bueller's Day Off. You go to a bookstore on June 16th because coming out is a new book called Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, the story of the world's most famous day off. And it details how John Hughes and another collaborator could have played everyone's favorite slacker. So this article came from Entertainment Weekly, and it discusses, the author's name is Jason Klamm, Klamm, and he put this book together over a period of time, and he interviewed a lot of different executives at the studio because, John Hughes has passed away, so we couldn't talk to him. But so they did a thing where they did some excerpts from the book, and one here is, I'm going to read to you. It says, in the third chapter of the book, Klamm explains how writer-director John Hughes pitched Ferris to Paramount executives Ned Tannen and Lindsay Doran. In that preliminary meeting at the Breakfast Club, filmmaker and the studio execs tossed around marketing ideas, as well as a surprising casting idea for the title role. John Cryer was going to play Ferris Bueller, who had previously popped up as Ducky in the Hughes-written comedy Pretty in Pink. Now, could you see John Cryer as Ferris Bueller?
Yeah, I guess he could. He could have. But
so he said, in the excerpt below, Klamm shares details from his interview with Cryer, in which the 2.5 Men star indicated that he had no idea that he was under consideration to play Ferris Bueller. The author also addresses the rumors that another frequent John Hughes collaborator, Anthony Michael Hall, was considered for the part. And now he's another one. Now, Anthony Michael Hall, was he?
He was in 16. He was in 16 Candles. He was a little blonde, the blonde kid with the mouth problems, mouth hardware, and retainer, and he picks up the little nerd. Yeah. So they're talking to John Cryer, who was also under consideration for the Alan Ruck character, the guy whose father owns the car, the whole bit. Cameron. He said yes, for the Alan Ruck character, he says that he was under consideration, and he said, but he was under consideration to play Cameron, the John Ruck character. But they felt that John Cryer playing Cameron would almost be like a mirror image of Matthew Broderick if they had, those two are so similar. That makes sense. Yeah, that makes sense.
He said Ferris Bueller sounded a little more antically comedic than Pretty in Pink was. It sounded like he was going to have a great time, and I was like, oh, that would have been a fun project to do. He goes, I recall being a little jealous at the time. And then famously, Hughes' 3-time leading man, Anthony Michael Hall, has since said that part he could have been, or has since said that the part could have been his. John actually had written Ferris Bueller for me. I didn't know this. Wow. Hall would later write, we both determined that I should move on to other things. I needed a break. I wanted to try something new. Instead of Ferris, it seems he shot the film out of bounds and became a part member of Saturday Night Live's strangest season. I remember when he was on Saturday Night Live. So there you go. The book comes out June 16th. And as I said, it's called Ferris Bueller, You're My Hero, the story of the world's most famous day off. I love stories like this because what we see, what finally makes it to the projected screen is often vastly different from what was pitched. And I love the casting decisions and yeah, so I think this might be a book you want to pick up.
No, I love that sort of thing. I had one about Animal House too. Somebody given me that
Classic.
was a good one because again, lots of different casting decisions and how people ended up with where they were. I think we talked about this once before. As you were saying this, it reminded me. Do you remember the song "Call Me" with Deborah Harry and Blondie? Was in the movie. What was the one with American Gigolo?
Yes,
"Call Me" with why am I
Richard
forgetting
Gere.
his name? Richard Gere. But do you know who was supposed to sing that? It was written for another famous singer at the time.
Okay,
And she didn't
could
do
I
it.
guess?
Sure.
Tina Turner.
No.
Um,
Think power band of the late 70s, early 80s. Big power band. Number one.
Fleetwood Mac.
Fleetwood Mac. Stevie Nicks. It was written for
Stevie
Stevie
Nicks.
Nicks.
Could you see Stevie Nicks doing that song?
Call me. Call me. I don't know. Call me anytime. I guess she could have, right? But it ended up, she regrets it. She joked about it. She was interviewed and regretted because still is the number one hit for Blondie and Deborah Harry. But one of those things where I turned it down. Oh, okay. It was like your friend who came in. Was it John Hannity the time when he
went to
on a
see
movie?
Cinema Paradiso.
Was that what
and
it
he fell
was?
asleep in the theater. He was a screener. I think he was working at Miramax. They were picking up a film. He comes back. They said, "What do you think of that movie?" Oh, no, it's not going to do
Pass.
anything. It won the Oscar.
Pass.
Yeah, pass. Take a pass. Won the
And
Oscar.
then he
that
said
year.
later on, they're all sitting around doing a post-mortem of the, how did we miss that? How did we miss that? Oh, I don't know.
He had gone out the night before, had a bender, went in, fell asleep.
But
woke
Weinstein
up.
Weinstein or somebody's like, how did we miss this? How did we not know this? No, I don't know.
It would be like us sending you to American Beauty, and you sit down after your flight from Japan. You watch the first 5 minutes. You wake up for the last 4 minutes. You're like, what the hell's going on? This is a piece of crap
Pass.
movie. Pass.
I'd still pass. Yeah, try to watch.
I knew you'd say that. I knew you'd say
actually,
that.
in our today on our I was laughing because there's in our shop talk today at the end of the show. It reminds me, there's a bit in there that reminds me of, I will sell this house today. I will sell this house today.
Affirmation.
And, right. That was almost going to be my my headline for the tease, but I picked technology instead, which leads to my
Your caught your eye.
My caught my eye. Mine is very simple. So this happened in Wuhan, China. So they're doing something other than giving us disease, according to Trump, with the China flu. So the incident in Wuhan comes amid a series of recent issues involving self-driving vehicles. So this was, as I said, in Wuhan, China, the Robotaxi company. I'm not going to try to pronounce their name, but there were over 100 self-driving taxis in China, in the town of Wuhan, that stopped mid-traffic due to a system malfunction, stranding all the passengers on the busy streets. They said no injuries were reported, though videos did show of widespread disruption and at least one crash involving the halted vehicles. So they just stopped, and I guess somebody rear-ended them. They said the incident adds to a growing concern about autonomous vehicle safety following recent issues in the U.S. involving driverless cars. So they said that it happened, I guess, last Tuesday evening during what would be considered a busy traffic time, which the Chinese just simply called a system malfunction. They said the cars were
much more.
They said people have been posting videos, and people were sitting in the cars and confused because these driverless cars just stopped. They said they're motionless and active roadways, some blocked lanes and intersections. In one clip, you could see that the car was in an accident. They said the vehicles were operated by Apollo Go, which is an autonomous ride hailing system in China. And they said the passengers were experiencing confusion that was unsettling, according to the Associated Press. They said that the cars just stopped shortly, and then a message would come up. So people would press a button. There's an SOS button, and it says, all it would come up on the screen was driving system malfunction. Staff expected to arrive in 5 minutes. Driving system
For how
malfunction.
many cars?
Staff are expected to arrive in 5 minutes. So this is what came up. So you would hit the button. So if the car goes dead, the passengers there's an SOS button to call for help. And this is all that showed up, is that there was a malfunction, help to arrive in 5 minutes. So the one passenger said when nobody arrived after pressing the button, they just jumped out of the cars. And again, they were just cars with open doors and everything's vehicles just abandoned. They said this Wuhan incident comes amid a series of recent issues involving self-driving vehicles, both in the U.S. and abroad. I guess last December in San Francisco, there were a big outage of homes. There was a blackout, but it also affected the driverless cars. I did not realize this. They were unable to function without traffic lights or traffic signals. So they were stopping in the middle of the road and also contributing to traffic jams. So there must be something with the technology that they've got to
sensor
rely on the lights, right? So there's a blackout, the lights go out, the cars just boom, stop.
Well, do you think the car actually has a device that reads the light, or do you think it's pulling data from the traffic control system? So if the system goes down that controls the light timing, it's kind of a...
Well, I know they were trying to do here when I was on the city council in Rehoboth Beach. A number of the cell phone companies were trying to put up cell towers. And they were primarily going to be used for what they hope in the future of autonomous driving cars. They would use these cell towers to give messages to however the computers work these cars. I know. Do you have them in New York yet? These driverless cars?
No, and if there are, they're test vehicles. I can't imagine. Well, San Francisco, I've heard people take these. People have gotten in them. They have fun, but they're also kind of weirded out by the fact that there's no driver. So,
well, that's what they all say. Everybody says it's kind of weird. Now, our friend Tim, Tim, who worked at General Motors, he got in. I think he went about 90 miles. They were testing it. It was a Cadillac. And they went out on the highway.
He didn't touch the wheel.
He said the strangest thing, I guess you could, I don't know. I would feel.
Tim, I say this
I'd go on one around town, I guess. But if I'm not picking up speed, the last thing you want to have is go speed. Our friend Rob, who worked at Mercedes early on, probably 15 years ago when they were testing this technology, he said he was sitting in on a global call with Mercedes. And they were showing how great this technology works. And then the cars slammed into one another in a million pieces. And because you can hear all this swearing in German, he sends the clip and says, no translation. I said, oh, is there translation? He goes, no translation needed. It's like, oh, no, the screen goes black. Said the Americans were all laughing. But,
well, Tim, our friend Tim, also said that autonomous self-driving is still going to be some time away if it's going to be perfectly safe. And,
Well, again, what they didn't, with technology getting ahead of itself. A lot of it relies, too, on the paint on the road and some things, some sensors on the roads.
Yep.
So if there's bad rain or particularly snow, I mean, how many of us have driven on snow-covered roads? You can't see anything. You can't see the guardrails. You can't see the side. So how could you can't have autonomous driving then. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what happens. So two good stories, Ferris Bueller and autonomous cars. Ferris Bueller would have liked an autonomous car, I think.
No.
Maybe?
He got a kick out of driving that sports car, having hands on the wheel. Yeah.
What's the sense of having it if you can't drive it?
Exactly.
Right. So our business birthday today.
Everyone does celebrity birthday greetings, but the Focus Group is the only show in the universe that celebrates business birthdays.
This was an odd one. Born April 8th, 1959, happy 67th to Eleanor Teresa Newman. She goes by Nell Newman. Did you know her or know of her?
And when I was putting this together, Tim, so is she the daughter of Paul and who is his? I keep wanting to say his wife. I see her face, but is she the daughter of his? Or is this from a previous marriage? Or
she's the daughter of Paul Newman and Joanne Woodward.
John Woodward. Sorry. Yeah.
Yep. Who died, right?
Yes.
I think they're both dead. So so she was, so I came across this. Oddly, it was, we've done birthdays for 18 years, however long we've done them. So certainly there's years fall upon one another. And so this one we hadn't done before. So I looked and I thought, well, okay. So she, Eleanor Teresa Newman, as I said, born April 8th. And so she was an American child actress who performed under the name of Nell Potts. She didn't want to use her Newman name. So, but she still uses Nell. Environmentalist, biologist, prominent supporter of sustainable agriculture, and she became an entrepreneur when she founded an organic food and pet company known as Newman's Own Organics. So, born in New York City, she's the eldest child of Joanne Woodward and Paul Newman. Now, we all know of Newman's Own. He had the salad dressings,
Yes.
he had all these other things. So she apparently decided that based upon her education, she went to the Putney School in Vermont and then to a College of the Atlantic in Bar Harbor, which is very much a environmentalist, sustainable sort of school where she learned a lot about sustainability and agriculture and the oceans and so forth. So she was doing the acting from the 60s and 70s, but then when she went off to college, she decided to come back and she started this organics version of the Newman's Own. And she did it primarily because there was a bird, the peregrine falcon, that she said this inspired her because it was her favorite bird in childhood. She said that it was headed for extinction. So she learned this in school due to the use of DDT, which was a chemical pesticide. And she talked about.
Tim, was it a peregrine falcon?
Peregrine. What did I say? Peregrine.
Yeah.
Peregrine.
Yeah, I remember that was. I think that they actually are back in numbers, but there was a time when it was like, yeah.
Yeah, and she said what happened is that this pesticides would make it into the food chain. So it went from insects to birds to rodents to the top predators like falcons and hawks. So this was a passion of hers, and this is what got her involved in doing this organic sort of thing. And so her father had Paul Newman's Own. So she said, Dad, I want to start this organic line of foods and products as an extension. So he said, okay. And then it says here, and I just laughed, I'll have to read this. Additionally, having been raised in rural Connecticut, she grew up eating vegetables from her mother's garden and made pies and apples picked from the trees, which contributed greatly to her work in sustainability, agriculture, and organic food. Now,
my children knew nothing of store-bought goods, Tim. My children knew nothing.
Right. Westport is hardly rural. But we'll go with the Norman Rockwell image, right? We'll go with this Norman Rockwell image. Yeah. But I laughed. They grew up in Westport. Right? I mean, come on.
Yeah.
So I laughed about that. And so she ends up what she did find, she was having trouble. So these organics, these Paul Newman organics or Newman's Own Organics, had a little trouble because people felt that organic food it tasted too much like health food. And they were trying to figure out how can you make organic food taste better. And so she worked a lot on developing that. And they ended up coming up, their mantra was great tasting products that happen to be organic became the slogan for Newman's Own Organics. And they had a lot of dog food. So they extended to dog food, cookies, all kinds of stuff that were organic. It says that her father died in September 2008 of lung cancer. And he was very much part of the business with her and lent his name and image to what he called a fledgling business at the time, to his business, which was founded in 1982. This is the part I found a little odd. In 2014, her license with Newman's Own was not renewed. So the father dies in 2008. So whoever was running, I guess, Newman's Own decided they didn't want to keep the organics business, right? So her license wasn't renewed.
Uh-huh.
So she went out of business and moved on to pursue other things around conservation, organic farming, and philanthropy. And she moved out to California. And initially, there might be an image that we showed, but initially, a lot of the marketing around the organics was her and her father, Paul Newman, in an American Gothic kind of pose. I did laugh. It says she's a flexitarian. I'd never really heard of that. Do you know what a flexitarian is?
Oh, that means she probably has meat now and then and goes for almost like fasting, goes for periods where she doesn't have it. Does that sound right?
Well, I thought it could be, I guess you could be another word for bisexual, right? You're flexitarian. But it says it's semi-vegetarian. So it's it's centered on plant-based foods with limited consumption of meat and other animal products. People who follow a flexitarian diet often reduce their intake of red meat and poultry while they increase the consumption of plant-based foods, fruits, vegetables, grains. People who adopt a flexitarian diet do it for health, environmental, ethical, and economic considerations. So flexitarian, I would say Richard's a flexitarian. He could easily be a vegetarian, but he'll eat meat now and then, but it's not part of his main diet.
I actually know a lot of folks who are like that, who are just careful about sources of protein. They may. Are you a fish guy? We've talked about this before. I don't. I like fish.
I do.
I don't like cooking it.
No, I still have a craving, and I have to. One of our listeners, Rob,
down here, fish sandwich.
I owe him a message. I owe him a message because when I was in Los Angeles, he sent me a note, and I didn't respond. But we're supposed to we're going to do the loop. We were going to get the Arby's sandwich. We were going to get the go to Arby's fish sandwich, was supposed to be quite good. And then McDonald's filet of fish, which I just wanted. But everybody's raving about Popeye's fish sandwich. I don't know. Have you heard of that?
That's a new entrant, right?
So, but I love a fish sandwich. But for some reason, I've tried to buy them and cook them at home. I can't. They get mushy. I don't know.
So just going back for a sec to Eleanor Teresa Newman. So if you're watching on YouTube, Tim has a picture of her, probably fairly recent, out at an event. And then there's an inset that I have in there, and it's a picture of the Newman's Own snack bites for dogs.
Right.
So that doesn't exist anymore. Like that product shot is from years ago. Because
they said that. Yeah, as of 2014, they did not renew their license. Yeah. Let me just make sure I got the date. Yeah, he died in 2008, and the business kept going. And then in 2014, her license with Newman's Own was not renewed. And I thought, I'm surprised.
My guess is tough business. I was looking at some research data or sales data for you and I have talked about this before, the farmer's dog.
Yeah.
It is so hard for them. They spend a lot of money to get subscribers, but there's a churn rate. I didn't realize this, but a lot of people who start using the farmer's dog, their dog will love it for a while. And I think you told me about this with you and Brian, right?
Brian,
and then the pets just don't want to eat it. They want to go back to kibble or something. So
yeah, it was the strangest thing. Rex and then Trixie and Spike, Brian and I both signed up, my neighbor Brian from Admark, and then the packets would come. It was based on dog size and age or whatever. So they were special and they were labeled Spike, Trixie, Rex. They loved it. They ate it like you can't believe for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And then within 3 days of one another, all three dogs just turned their nose up at it. And it's expensive. But we were happy. I thought, okay, it's organic or
healthy,
it's healthy and they like it. It's a little more money, but they're eating and I'm happy. And then they just turned their nose and would not eat it. And I've heard that from other people too. Yeah, I don't know what it was. It was the oddest thing.
I've heard it from others as well. And so that's why the organic side of dog and cat food, specifically dogs, is difficult because apparently it's just a hard sell. And I'm not. So if Newman's was owned by like say Nestle or just pick any Mondelez, pick any big company, and they looked at the numbers, they're like, we don't really need to sell this. Yeah.
I saw someone on Shark Tank the other night that was trying to sell organic dog food, and it was vegetarian, so there was no meat in it. And they got raked over the coals because I forget Mr. Wonderful. That guy's like, tell me a dogs want meat. Dogs want a bone. They want meat.
He's right about that, though. I mean, I think he's weird. He's the Canadian, right?
I don't know. He's the one that's always doing
I think he's Canadian.
He wants to do the royalty deals all the time.
He's the guy in the middle. He shows up with these crazy outfits on some new stuff, and he's very opinionated too. And because he's rich. Yeah, because he's rich, he thinks his opinions are actually valid because he made money. I guess they are for some things.
He's different. He's different than Mark Cuban, who's liberal. Mr. Wonderful, who's
agreed. They actually, Tim, great comparison. They are polar opposites, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're both business guys, but they both have very different worldviews.
Yeah.
Very, very good business birthday. That's a good one. We've had a good front end of the show. We are going to take a very quick pause. And when we come back, Tim teased this a little while ago. We were just talking about this. We have an article about some mental techniques a Navy SEAL uses, but you can try in your daily life to improve things, I should say. So stay with us. We'll be right back.
You're listening to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com. Now back to The Focus Group with Tim and John. Available pretty much everywhere.
Yes, welcome back to the Focus Group. Pretty much available anywhere. I guess if you just go Google us or whatever you do, John, you can. We're on the Spotify or the Tunein or.
You could talk to Alexa.
Amazon, Alexa, Xfinity.
The Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Okay.
Yeah, Amazon, Xfinity, and Apple Podcasts, and what's that other one? That's
Spotify. Did you say Spotify?
Spotify, right? I think even Pandora.
Tunein.
Tunein. You can still get us through Sirius XM too. I think there's a way to wander through. And yeah, I find that kind of funny. So anyway, learn all about us at focusgroupradio.com. You'll find all of our media there as well, because we know everybody time shifts. As John teased before he went to break, he had found this story. It's a quick one, but I thought quite interesting. This guy, Mark Devine, I believe is his name. He's a retired Navy SEAL. And he said, what I do every day for a sharper mind, these habits kept me alive in combat zones. He said he served for 15 years in the U.S. Reserves, including 9 as a commander. He led SEAL teams in combat and spent the past 2 decades helping high performers from boardrooms to locker rooms build unbeatable minds. He says SEALs aren't necessarily or naturally tougher than everyone else. We just understand that mental resilience is something that's built through specific, repeatable practices that can help us keep calm and focus under extreme pressure. So he talks about there are 3 daily habits, he says, that help him banish burnout and maintain a sharper and more resilient mind. So there's 3 of these. John, do you want to explain the first one here too?
Well, the first one I subscribe to by accident, I think. It says, I move deliberately at least 3 times a day. Over the course of the day, I might do a set of bodyweight squats. So he just stands, does the squats, burpees, and push-ups, or sun salutations, which is a yoga move. Later, I might go for a 10-minute walk outside, or just take a break to do some slow nasal breathing while moving. He says, this is about telling your nervous system, I'm capable, I'm safe, I can act. Research has found that brief bouts of physical movement significantly improve mood, cognitive flexibility, and stress resilience, even more effectively than a prolonged exercise session later in the day. And then it finishes by saying a medical term or a clinical fact. Studies also show that regular movement reduces the risk of depression by over 25%, regardless of intensity. So just 5 minutes of movement, 5, 10, 15, can reset your nervous system. I subscribe to this. I try to do something physical every day. It's either yoga or strength training, or maybe it's a bike ride and one of these other things. Or I just like taking a walk sometimes. I know you do. You have in the past. I do think this works. And Tim will tell you that my best ideas come to me when I am on my bike doing a long ride. Yeah. So I used to do rowing in the morning and run in the evening after work. And I did, as much as I hated to run. I don't know how you did that. I don't know how you did. They're so different. They are different, right? But I did it to maintain weight. Quite frankly, it was the only thing that I could. Running helped me lose weight. But when I read this, I laughed because we did work with Martina Navratilova, and she was a big proponent of this. You would be with her during a day if you were working, and she would try to squeeze in she would do 3 things. And whether it was walk the dog, go for a run, hit the tennis ball, whatever it was, but she said she needed to do 3
active things a day.
Physical things. Yeah.
Physical things. And there was one time we had dinner we were supposed to have dinner, and we were in New York City. And I remember her running through the hotel lobby. She was going to go for a run through Central Park because she hadn't done her third thing for the day. And,
Did she make it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But
there you go.
People like that, they're on their own schedule. Other than getting to the match on time, they're generally on their own schedule.
Yeah.
So if you could
I
just
don't know, Tim, that you actually bring up a superb point. Not everybody has the schedule that allows them to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the issue, right? Number 2, he does something he calls box breathing. He said, I do box breathing every morning. He said, I termed this coin back in 2006. The practice is not original to me, but it's incredibly useful. He does 20 minutes of box breathing in the morning and another 20 minutes in the afternoon or evening. So it's simple. You inhale through your nostrils for a 5 count. Then you hold your breath for a 5 count. Then you exhale. Now, I don't know if he's exhaling through his nostrils. I'm assuming he is, since he's bringing it in through his nostrils. And then he exhales for 5 seconds. And then he holds it again after the exhale for a final count of 5. So he says, done first thing in the morning, it sets your psychological tone for the entire day. For me, 20 minutes is ideal, but even 5 minutes can help to eliminate stress and improve focus and clarity. I thought 20 minutes might be a long time for this, but I guess people meditate that long, right? So if you just sit there and breathe, if you breathe like this for the 5 in, 5 out, or 5 in, hold, 5 out, hold, 20 minutes, I thought, is a long time, isn't it?
I think it takes a discipline. So in yoga, there's something called ujjayi breathing, which in and out through your nose, and it actually helps improve your lung capacity. It's like training your lungs. There's also something in yoga they do where you hold one side of your nose closed and you breathe in through one side, close it, breathe out through the other. I have never been able to do that for more than 4 or 5 minutes without thinking, like, when's this going to kind of just breathe? Can I breathe normally again?
Stop.
So
when you do it do you do it as a group when you're at yoga?
As part of your warm up, yeah. I haven't had that happen. I haven't had an instructor do that for quite some time, but he says you can do any amount of time you want for this box breathing. There's another technique that the military trains. Marines are trained how to fall asleep in combat situations. This is part of it. As you're laying down, you relax your body. You do a slow count in, hold, slow count out, and supposedly in 10 or 15 minutes, you're going to fall asleep. But Tim, you nailed it. I can't meditate. Meditation to me is riding my bike or taking a yoga class or doing weights. This is actually sitting and breathing, and I think you and I would both be very bored by this. It would change our psychological profile for sure.
I've always wanted to do yoga, but I was afraid I'm going to fart. Do you ever fart in yoga? Or pass gas?
I've had to, but I haven't.
Anyone in class do it? People ignore it?
Oh,
it's
yeah.
It's got to be. Someone shot a bunny.
And there's a little chuckle, and everybody looks at you serious, like it's like as if they're in a cathedral or a church. Like, what do you? Oh, yeah. Yoga's funny. I have an instructor named Johan Montajaro who is French. He's a male model yoga teacher, married, has a great daughter.
Bonjour.
He's very funny though. Like he'll say things like, okay, plank position, 2 push-ups. Then he'll say plank position, lift your feet off the ground and do 3 push-ups. And people actually stop and puzzle about what he's saying. I bust out laughing in class. And he'll look at it and he'll smile and he'll wave to me. He goes, John gets it. Like, it's a joke. You're just having fun. Anyway, back to the article here. His third and final technique for mental resilience during the day, which he used to be when he was a Navy SEAL. I use key phrases to reduce rumination and negativity. So we all have these doom loops sometime that run through our minds, and he claims that you can say things to yourself that kind of alleviate that and switch things around. And you can weaken those things by doing this. So this is what he does to change that. So he says, I notice fear-based thoughts. He'll notice these things first, such as I can't, I'm behind, this is too much. I think in many people's worlds, I can't afford it. When's this going to end? When our price is going to go down? saying a phrase is not going to help that. And then the second, he says, I intercept them with a firm mental command, like, nope, not paying attention to you, fear. I've not successfully done that. And I replace that thought with a grounded action-based truth. I can do the next rep. I've handled harder. Action creates clarity. Or here's the one I hear all the time. You can do anything for a minute. So if you're like exercising hard or you're running, you're jumping, you hear an instructor say, hey, you can do anything for 1 minute. And then Tim earlier was referencing American Beauty. I can sell this house today.
I will sell this house today. I will sell this house today. That's exactly what I thought when I read that. I was like, this is the American Beauty.
Captures it perfectly, right?
But it's supposed to be, you're supposed to have positive thoughts. And I could see where that could be helpful, I suppose. But you're right. We get in doom loops and they can just spiral out of control sometimes. So it makes sense to be more positive. Although there's some people I know that are just positive all the time. And I was like, do you ever have a bad day? There's one friend of mine.
You know what, Tim?
Always happy. I was like, you're full of shit. There's got to be a day that you're just like, you know what? It's a bad day. And I'm going to tell you it's a bad day.
I got to tell you, I might have said this story before, but years and years ago, and I'm talking, I want to say it was the late 90s, I did individual therapy for a while. And then my therapist had me join a group therapy with 5 other gay men. And one day, one of them comes in and he's talking about the weekend and how bad it was, couldn't get out of bed. And I must have had a look on my face, or is there something about the way I held myself or the way I presented myself that this guy looks right at me. And he goes, are you ever depressed? Are you ever down? Are you ever depressed? I said, well, I have days where I don't feel like doing this. And he kind of imitates me. He goes, oh, you have blue, sad days or your blue days. And I start getting attacked by this guy because apparently I'm too optimistic or too happy, whatever. And then the therapist jumps in and says, now you got to stop this. He said, John, he goes, do you know what he's talking about? I said, yeah, I've been down and depressed. He goes, no. He goes, have you ever had stretches of time where you can't even get out of bed? I'm like, no, of course I can get out of bed. He went through this whole thing of what people that actually have clinical depression experience. And then he went further and he said, do you have an addictive personality? I said, perhaps for Star Trek. That didn't go over well either because they're all like, so the guy that had initially began this eventually smiled and very nicely said to me, John, he goes, count your blessings that you have never experienced destructive addiction or depression. He said, just count your blessings. You don't need to think about it. He goes, you haven't. And it made me realize that there are and I'm not sure that a mental state like that could be broken by saying something like, I will sell this house today, right?
Yeah.
And Tim, I have to say, Tim is also a good antidote for down moods. Tim, I know you have how many people can you count on probably 2 or 3 hands that use you as a sounding board to kind of get them grounded and ready to face the day? Because you can do that, right?
Yeah, I mean, you rely on people to do that. You and I play off one another. One's having a bad day, one's having a good day. I think it helps, the yin and yang aspect of it. But it is. I think it's always good to have someone to talk
Techniques.
to, or right, or if you feel you need a therapist or someone to talk to because you don't have a friend you can trust or something else, I think is helpful, or someone that just has more experience with a particular issue. But I kind of summed this article up with, it was, move, breathe, and be positive, right? It was kind of...
Tim, if you were being paid by the word, you would not be making money.
No. Move, breathe, and be positive. Get up and move.
Breathe, and have and go to Hallmark and get some affirmations.
You're alive. So, yeah.
All right, folks, we're going to leave it there. That was a good shop talk. I always like having certain habits reaffirmed. Like I like being physical. I like working out. I like riding my bike. And to hear that it actually has benefits is always good. Yeah. I guess that makes me feel smarter than, I don't know, 5 other people. All right. So we want to thank you for joining us today here on the Focus Group. FocusGroupRadio.com is our website. You can learn about me and Tim there. And you'll also learn about TFG Unbuttoned, our Tuesday podcast, 3 stories, about 20 minutes. We always bring you things you probably never knew. We want to remind everybody as the summer driving season or spring to summer kicks off, it's all year. Don't text and drive, arrive alive, because we want to see you here next week on the Focus Group. Have a good one.
It's the Focus Group with Tim Bennett and John Nash. Accessible on all platforms. Subscribe, like, and rate us on your platform of choice. Learn more at focusgroupradio.com.